Hello English language learners, this is Lana from Lingo Mondo. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I'm going to give you an overview of all the different types of English language tests, such as IELTS, TOEFL, TOEIC, Pearson and other tests. Which one should you choose for work or study? How are they different from language tests that your school may give you? And also, what about all of those online English language tests where you can get an instant result? There's lots of useful links underneath, and please ask your questions. This week's Lingo Mondo video is going to be about English language tests. Like, for example, you have standardized international tests such as IELTS, TOEFL, TOEIC, Pearson, and Cambridge exams. What are they? They're clearly not the same as level test at your college or language school or college or university. They are something different. You also find other tests online, such as Oxford Online Test, for example, where you can just log in and do a test and they will quickly tell you what your level is. And sometimes even English language schools accept such results. Or you can decide what level Oxford readers you should buy for yourself. I'll give you a link below so you can check what English language graded readers are, and also a link to all the tests that we are discussing today. Okay, so the standardized international English language tests, IELTS, TOEFL, TOEIC, Pearson, Cambridge exams and the Occupational English Language Test, which is accepted in Australia, for example, and Singapore, and if you want to become a nurse. Again, you'll find all the links underneath the video. You can click and check them out, and you can ask me any questions you want about. Alright, let's talk about standardized international English tests. In the UK, they are called Secure English Language Tests, and in Australia we call them International English Language Tests. So who accepts them? When you sit such a test, you get an international certificate, which is valid in any country of the world. You can take them anywhere, so that's why they are international. They have very clear description of what the results mean. And they are accepted by many countries, companies, government organizations, independent, non-government organizations, and education providers. Education providers are schools, language colleges, other colleges, universities, anyone who teaches students. In the future, I will say education providers just to be short, not to be saying all the time schools, colleges, universities. I'll just say education providers, so please remember this term. And they're accepted for things such as study, work, immigration, and maybe some other purposes as well. Alright, so what are the English language requirements for student visas in Australia? If you want to study for a degree or a vocational course or a non-qualification course in Australia, the tests that are accepted are IELTS, TOEFL, Pearson, CAE, which is a Cambridge Advanced Certificate, or the OET. And the score is required by your course provider and your type of visa. What if you actually want to study English in Australia? Do you still need a level test? Well, the good news is no. If you're going to Australia to learn English, then you do not need to show your English language level for this visa. But if you want your college to tell you how many weeks to buy, how many weeks you may need to study English in order to achieve the level that you need. For example, you want to go and study at a university, or you want to be at an advanced level of English for work. Then the college needs to know your level now so they can tell approximately how long it may take you to achieve that level. So how can they do that? A standardized test, so you go and you sit an IELTS or a TOEFL or some other test that the college would accept, and you probably can do it in your country. Or you can sit their own test. If you are already in the country where the college is, you might be able to just go to that college and sit a test there. Or many colleges actually have their own test. Sometimes they would accept some other online tests, but it depends on the college. English language requirements for student visas in the UK. Let's look at that. If you want to get a degree, or you want to study for a vocational qualification or a non-qualification course, or if you want to study English plus another course, in the UK, IELTS definitely is the most popular test that you can take. Everybody in the UK accepts IELTS test. Well, it's a British test, so the British are happy to accept it. Or there is another test which is called Trinity College test, but for that one you actually need to go to Trinity College, so that might be a bit tricky, so IELTS may be a bit more practical if you are not in the country. And again, if you want to study English language course only, no test required. You can just apply for the college that teaches English. English language level will not be one of the requirements for the embassy to give you a visa. Alright, English language requirements for student visas in the United States. To study in any course in the United States, you would need an enrollment form from education provider. In any country, wherever you go, you need an enrollment form from an education provider in order to apply for your visa. But in the United States, it is their responsibility to be happy with your English level for whatever course you choose. Provider checks your English level for their course, and it's up to them how they want to do it, and then they mark the enrollment form that you satisfy the English language requirements for their course. So how do they check your English level? All providers in the United States except, you guessed it, TOEFL. TOEFL because it's an American test, so providers in the United States are very comfortable with the TOEFL test, and practically all of them accept it. Some providers in the United States also accept IELTS, and they may accept some other tests, but it really depends on the provider. If you want to know who accepts IELTS test in the United States, and I will put this link below this video, you can go to that website and check if the country where you want to go and the education provider with whom you want to study, if they actually accept IELTS test. So what about English language schools and colleges giving you their own tests? Placement test, proficiency test, level check, they have all kinds of names. This happens quite often, and that's okay. The colleges can use this test in order to put you in a correct class or tell you how many weeks you need to study, but this test will probably not be recognized by anybody else. Sometimes English language schools talk to each other, they know each other, so your test from one school may be recognized by another school. This can happen. Schools talk to each other, some of them trust each other, and they would accept a level check or a level test, a placement test from another school. But you definitely need to speak with them and ask them if that would be possible if you are in such a situation where you need to change schools. There are also other tests, usually online, for example, Oxford Graded Readers Test. This is an online test which you can use if you want to quickly check your level when you read Oxford books for English language learners. If you need to decide whether you need a book for a beginner level or for intermediate level or advanced level, you can take this test and it will help you to decide which book to read. Some schools also accept this test in order to place students in their classes, and that's quite okay. But again, they are approximate and they do not meet international standardized English language test requirements. So for some purposes, they are okay, but they're not as widely recognized, of course, as standardized language tests. The main question is, are standardized tests a good idea? Well, I think they are a good idea because they're accepted by many countries, education providers and employers, so that gives you flexibility. You can choose an employer or a college in any country. You can change your mind. You can first think of one college and then change your mind and try and go to another college, but your English language test will still be okay. And you probably can take the same test to an employer and find a part-time job while you are studying. Or you could show this test to an employer in your own country. So that's a very good idea because you have flexibility and you can have a lot of backup options which you can choose in case that your first choice, your original choice, didn't work out. The second good thing about them is that they have clear descriptors, they have standard scales, and they have sections. So what does all this mean? These tests are marked on standardized scales. So if you have, for example, 5 on the IELTS scale or 96 on a TOEFL scale, you know exactly what it means because there are millions of other test takers who are marked on the same scale. So it's very easy to understand what that means. And each of these marks, each of these scales have very clear descriptors of what different scores mean. So that's very convenient for everyone, both for you and for those who look at your tests. It is also easy to track your progress because if you take a test today and then take another test, in a year's time, you will be able to compare your knowledge in all the sections of the test, and it's very easy to track your progress. And you can compare yourself to millions of other learners or to people whom you know who have also taken the test. Alright, so this was it. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments. In the next video, I'm going to talk about how to choose the right test. How can you choose the right test for you? There are so many variables, so many different conditions, and you have different strengths and weaknesses in different sections. So how do you choose the right test for you if you have a choice? Please ask questions and tell me what you want to know, and that will make it easier for me to make the next video for you. And subscribe in order not to miss the next video. I teach online lessons. If you go to lingomondo.com, you can order a lesson or a chat or a consultation. Lingomondo app is on Google Play, and we have applications that will help you practice English language grammar, vocabulary and common situations. In the next video, we will discuss the structure of different tests, IELTS, TOEFL, TOEIC, and so on, so that you can choose the test which would give you a maximum chance of achieving a high score. If you are serious about your exam preparation, go to lingomondo.com and you can order an individual lesson or a chat or a consultation with me. So please subscribe to our channel, check out the links below, ask questions, and I'll see you online very soon. Bye!